The huge meeting hall of the Galactic Council was filled with noise and tension. Hundreds of alien beings sat in their special seats, all looking angry and worried. The room was so big that it could hold 1,000 creatures from different worlds. Bright lights shone down from the ceiling, making everything look sharp and clear. Ambassador Lisa Morgan sat by herself at the human table. She was the only human in the entire room. Around her, aliens of all shapes and sizes whispered to each other in their strange languages. Some looked like giant insects with hard shells. Others were made of flowing gas that changed colors. Some had too many eyes, while others had no eyes at all. Lisa kept her face calm and peaceful, even though she could feel all the angry looks pointed at her. She had been a diplomat for 20 years, and she knew how to stay cool when things got bad. But this was different. This was not just about trade deals or border disputes. This was about whether humans would be allowed to stay in the galactic community. The Vorthic Prime Minister stood up from his seat. He was 12 feet tall and looked like a giant praying mantis made of black metal. His forearms moved as he spoke, and his voice was deep and scary. When he talked, a machine changed his words into languages that everyone could understand. "Friends and fellow beings of our great galaxy," he said, his voice booming through the hall. "We have come together today because we have a serious problem. The humans have joined our peaceful community, but they bring danger with them." More aliens started talking louder. The crystal people made musical sounds that showed they were upset. The gas creatures turned red and orange, which meant they were angry. Lisa wrote notes on her tablet, but she did not look worried. "Look at their history," the Vorthak continued. "These humans have fought wars for thousands of years. They have weapons that can destroy entire planets. They love to fight and kill. They celebrate violence in their movies and games. Even their sports are violent." A thin, blue alien with 6 arms stood up. "The humans have been in our galaxy for only 5 years, she said. "But already they have built the biggest military force we have ever seen. They have ships that can travel faster than light. They have soldiers who are trained to kill." "That is right," said another alien who looked like a walking tree. "On their homeworld, they have had hundreds of wars. They have weapons that can kill millions of people at once. They have never known true peace." Lisa listened to every word. She had expected this. Earth's history was full of wars and conflicts. Humans had indeed fought each other for thousands of years. They had created terrible weapons. They had done things that even they were not proud of, but there was more to the story. Much more. An alien that looked like a giant jellyfish floated up from his seat. "The humans call their soldiers warriors and heroes they make movies about. War, they teach their children to play with toy weapons. This is not the behavior of a peaceful species. They have martial arts," added a small furry creature. "They train their bodies to be weapons. They compete to see who can fight the best." This is not normal. The accusations kept coming. One by one, the aliens stood up to talk about why humans were dangerous. They talked about Earth's violent history. They talked about human weapons. They talked about how humans seem to enjoy conflict. Lisa knew that some of what they said was true. Humans did have a violent past. They did have powerful weapons. They did sometimes seem to enjoy competition and conflict. But they were only seeing part of the picture. The Etherian delegate, a being made of living crystal, made a sound like breaking glass. The translator said, "The Etherians believe that humans will bring chaos to our ordered galaxy. They have never known a species that glorifies war as humans do." A creature that looked like a giant octopus with wings spoke next. "We have studied human culture. They have sayings like, 'Fight fire with fire,' and 'the best defense is a good offense.' They believe that violence solves problems. This is not how civilized beings think." The attacks continued for 2 hours. Every species seemed to have something to say about why humans were dangerous. They brought up every war that Earth had ever fought. They mentioned every weapon that humans had ever built. They talked about human aggression and competitiveness. Through it all, Lisa sat quietly and took notes. She did not interrupt. She did not argue. She did not defend humanity. She just listened and waited. Finally, the ancient being known as Elder Keth raised one of his many hands. The room became quiet. Elder Keth was older than most civilizations. He had seen species rise and fall. His word carried great weight in the council. "We have heard many concerns about the human species," he said in a voice that sounded like wind through old trees. "The evidence seems clear that humans have a history of violence and warfare. They have capabilities that could threaten the peace we have worked so hard to build." He turned his many eyes toward Lisa. Each eye was a different color, and they seemed to look right through her. "Ambassador Morgan," he continued, "you have listened to these accusations in silence. The Council has presented evidence that your species is inherently violent and poses a threat to galactic peace. How do you respond to these charges?" The entire room became completely silent. Every alien being turned to look at the single human woman sitting alone at her table. This was the moment that would decide humanity's fate. Would they be allowed to stay in the galactic community? Or would they be cast out as too dangerous to be trusted? Lisa stood up slowly. She was small compared to most of the aliens in the room, but she did not look afraid. She walked to the center of the room where a speaking platform waited for her. Her footsteps echoed in the silent hall. She looked around the room at all the different faces watching her. Some looked angry. Some looked afraid. Some looked curious. All of them were waiting to hear what she would say. This was the most important speech in human history. The future of her entire species depended on her words. Lisa Morgan walked slowly to the speaking platform in the center of the huge room. Her shoes made soft clicking sounds on the metal floor. Every alien eye in the chamber followed her movement. The silence was so complete that even the smallest sounds seemed loud. She reached the platform and placed her hands on the smooth surface. The platform was made for beings much taller than humans, so she had to look up at most of the aliens around her. But she did not seem bothered by this. Instead, she smiled a small, calm smile. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," she began. Her voice was clear and strong, and the translation machines carried her words to every corner of the room. "I have listened carefully to everything you have said today. You have told me about your fears. You have shared your concerns about my species." She paused and looked around the room. Some of the aliens shifted in their seats. Others leaned forward to hear better. "You speak of our history of war," Lisa continued. "You talk about our weapons and our soldiers. You worry that we will bring violence to your peaceful galaxy. I understand why you feel this way." The Vorthic Prime Minister made a sound like grinding metal. "Then you admit that humans are dangerous?" Lisa turned to face him directly. "I admit that humans are capable of great violence, yes. But I think you are asking the wrong question." "What do you mean?" asked the crystal being called Etherian Prime. "You are asking whether humans have fought wars," Lisa said. "You are asking whether we have weapons. You are asking whether we can be violent. But these are not the right questions to ask." She touched her tablet, and a holographic display appeared above the platform. The aliens gasped as they saw images from Earth floating in the air above them. The pictures showed green forests, blue oceans, and white clouds. They showed cities full of lights and people walking peacefully in parks. "The right question," Lisa said, "is not whether we have known war. The right question is what we have learned from it." She looked around the room again. "Before I tell you about humans in war, I want to ask you something. How many of your species have never fought? How many have never had to defend themselves? How many have never made hard choices to protect their people?" The room stayed quiet. Some aliens looked at each other, but no one spoke. "I see," Lisa said. "So you all know about conflict? You all know about having to make difficult decisions. But you judge us for the same things you have done?" The octopus-like being called Tentac spoke up. "But we learned to move beyond war. We became civilized." "Humans still celebrate violence," Lisa nodded. "You think we celebrate violence, but let me show you what we really celebrate." The holographic display changed. Now it showed scenes from Earth's history, but not the wars and battles the aliens expected. Instead, it showed doctors helping sick people. It showed teachers with children. It showed artists creating beautiful paintings. It showed families eating together and laughing. You see our weapons, Lisa said, but you do not see our hospitals. You see our soldiers, but you do not see our teachers. You see our wars, but you do not see our peace. The images kept changing. They showed humans building homes for people who had none. They showed humans feeding hungry children. They showed humans rescuing animals from floods and fires. Every species in this room has weapons, Lisa continued. Every species has soldiers. Every species has had to fight at some point in their history. But you judge us because we remember our fights. You judge us because we learn from them. A small furry alien near the front raised a paw. But humans seem to enjoy conflict. You have competitive sports, you have martial arts. You train for war even in peacetime. Lisa smiled again. Do you know what our sports teach us? They teach us that there are rules. They teach us that even in competition we must be fair. They teach us that when the game is over, we shake hands with our opponents. The display showed scenes from human sporting events. The aliens watched as competitors helped each other up after falls. They saw winners and losers embracing after games. They saw crowds cheering for good plays, even when made by the other team. Our martial arts do not teach us to hurt people, Lisa said. They teach us discipline. They teach us control. They teach us to use our strength to protect, not to destroy. The images showed martial arts schools where students bowed to their teachers and opponents. They showed advanced students helping beginners. They showed competitions where fighters showed respect for each other. You think we love war, Lisa said, her voice growing stronger. But the truth is we hate war more than any species in this galaxy. We hate it because we know what it costs. We hate it because we have paid that price. The display changed again. Now it showed scenes from after Earth's wars. It showed enemies becoming friends. It showed former battlefields turned into parks and memorials. It showed veterans teaching children about peace. Every war we have fought has taught us something. Lisa said, it has taught us that peace is precious. It has taught us that life is valuable. It has taught us that some things are worth protecting. Elder Keth leaned forward in his ancient chair. Are you saying that your history of violence makes you better than us? No, Lisa said firmly. I'm saying that our history of violence has taught us the true value of peace. We know the difference between a real threat and a simple disagreement. We know when words are enough and when action is needed. The display showed recent events from across the galaxy. It showed human ships arriving to help when planets were in trouble. It showed human doctors treating alien patients. It showed human engineers helping to rebuild damaged cities. 3 years ago, when the Drakmari attacked the Centauri colonies, who came to help first? Lisa asked. The room was quiet. Everyone knew the answer. Humans, Lisa said. When the Void Plague threatened the Andromeda sector, who volunteered to go into the dangerous areas? Again, silence. Humans, Lisa said. When pirates attacked the trade routes, who offered to escort the cargo ships? Humans, whispered the small furry alien. Lisa nodded. Every time there has been danger in this galaxy, humans have stepped forward. Not because we love fighting, but because we understand what happens when good people do nothing. She looked around the room one more time. You call us war-loving. But we are not war-loving. We are peace-protecting. And there is a very big difference. The room erupted in discussion. Some aliens argued with each other. Others sat in thoughtful silence. The crystal beings made complex musical sounds. The gas creatures swirled in patterns that showed confusion and uncertainty. Lisa stood calmly at the platform, waiting for the noise to die down. She had said what she needed to say. Now it was time for the next phase of her defense, but she was not done yet. She had more to show them about what it truly meant to be human. The noise in the chamber slowly died down as Lisa touched her tablet again. The holographic display above the platform changed to show new images. These were not the peaceful scenes from before. These were from Earth's wars, but they were not what the aliens expected to see. The first image showed a human soldier in a muddy battlefield. But he was not fighting. He was kneeling beside a wounded enemy soldier, giving him water from his own canteen. The wounded alien soldier had been trying to kill him just minutes before. "You want to know what makes humans different from other species?" Lisa asked, her voice carrying clearly through the silent room. "This is what makes us different. We do not hate our enemies. We see them as people who made different choices." The display changed to show a human medic running across a battlefield. Explosions were going off all around her, but she kept running. She reached a group of wounded soldiers and began treating them. Half of them were humans. Half of them were from the enemy army. She treated them all the same way. "During our worst wars," Lisa said, "our doctors and nurses would risk their lives to save anyone who was hurt. It did not matter which side they were on. It did not matter if they had been trying to kill us. When someone was hurt, we helped them." A large, slug-like alien near the back made a wet sound that the translator said meant confusion. "But why would you help your enemies?" Lisa smiled sadly. "Because we learned that our enemies were not evil monsters. They were people with families. They were sons and daughters and mothers and fathers. They were just like us, fighting for what they believed in." The display showed more scenes from Earth's history. It showed enemy pilots who had been shot down being rescued by the people they had been bombing. It showed soldiers sharing their food with hungry children from enemy cities. It showed prisoners of war being treated with kindness and respect. Every war taught us something new about compassion, Lisa continued. Every battle showed us that, even in the worst times, we could choose to be better than our anger. The Vorthic Prime Minister rattled his hard shell. "This is weakness. In war, you destroy your enemies completely. You do not help them." Lisa turned to face him directly. "Prime Minister, let me ask you a question. After your people's last war, what happened to your enemies?" The giant mantis-like being was quiet for a moment. "They were defeated, they surrendered, and then they were absorbed into our empire. Did they rebel? Did they try to fight?" "You again?" The Vortex shifted uncomfortably. "Yes, many times. We had to use force to keep them under control," Lisa nodded. "And how is that working out for you?" "We still have problems with rebel groups," the Prime Minister admitted reluctantly. "Now, let me tell you about Earth's history," Lisa said. The display showed scenes from after major human wars. After our biggest war, we did not destroy our enemies. We helped them rebuild. We shared our food with them. We helped them create new governments. We turned them into friends. The images showed former enemies working together. They showed soldiers who had fought each other now building schools and hospitals together. They showed children from former enemy countries playing together and learning from each other. "Germany and Japan were our enemies in our largest war," Lisa explained. "We fought them for years. Millions of people died. But after the war ended, we helped them rebuild. Today, they are some of our closest friends." The crystal beings made a sound like wind chimes. The translator said they were asking, "How is this possible?" "Because we learned that the best way to end a war is not to win it," Lisa said. "The best way to end a war is to make sure there is no reason to fight it again. You cannot do that by destroying your enemies. You can only do that by helping them become your friends." The display changed again. Now it showed scenes from recent galactic events. It showed human ships arriving at the Centauri colonies after the Drakmari attack. But the images were not of human soldiers fighting. They were of human doctors treating wounded Drakmari soldiers alongside the human and Centauri victims. "When we responded to the Drakmari attack," Lisa said, "we did not just fight off the attackers. We captured many of them. And then we treated their wounded. We gave them food and water. We asked them why they had attacked." The room was completely silent now. Even the usually restless gas beings had stopped their color changes. "Do you know what we learned?" Lisa asked. "We learned that the Drakmari were not evil. They were desperate. Their homeworld was dying. They attacked because they thought it was the only way to save their people." The display showed human and Drakmari working together. They showed human scientists helping to heal the Drakmari homeworld. They showed Drakmari and human children playing together in refugee camps. Instead of destroying them, we helped them, Lisa said. We shared our technology. We helped them fix their world. We gave them new homes on colony worlds. And now the Drakmari are applying to join the Galactic Council as a peaceful member species. A small, bird-like alien stood up. But this is not normal behavior. Most species would have punished the Drakmari for their attack. Lisa nodded. You are right. Most species would have. But humans learned a long time ago that punishment does not solve problems. It only creates more problems. The best way to stop violence is to remove the reason for it. The display showed more examples. It showed human peacekeepers separating warring factions, not by fighting them, but by helping them talk to each other. It showed human negotiators working for months to find solutions that everyone could accept. You think we love war, Lisa said, but the truth is we understand war better than any species in this galaxy. We understand it so well that we know how to end it. We know how to turn enemies into friends. We know how to make peace last. Elder, Keth spoke for the first time in hours. Are you saying that humans are better peacemakers because you are better warriors? Lisa was quiet for a long moment. I am saying that humans are better peacemakers because we know what peace costs. We know that real peace is not just the absence of fighting. Real peace is when former enemies can sit down and eat together. Real peace is when children can play without fear. Real peace is when people choose cooperation over conflict. The display showed one final image. It was from Earth, showing a memorial wall covered with the names of people who had died in wars. But the memorial was not just for human soldiers. It had names from every species that had fought alongside humans. It had names of enemies who had been killed. It had names of civilians who had been caught in the fighting. We remember everyone. Who died, Lisa said quietly. We remember our friends and our enemies. We remember the soldiers and the civilians. We remember them all, because every life that is lost in war is a failure of peace. She looked around the room one more time. You call us war-loving. But we are the species that cries for our enemies. We are the species that helps our attackers. We are the species that turns battlefields into schools. If that is what you call war-loving, then I do not think you understand what love means. The chamber was absolutely silent. Every alien in the room was thinking about what they had just heard. The images floating above the platform seemed to glow with a soft light, showing the best of humanity even in its darkest moments. Lisa stood quietly at the platform, waiting for someone to speak. She had shown them the truth about humans and war. Now she had to wait and see if they would understand. The silence in the chamber was broken by the sound of footsteps. A tall human man in a military uniform stood up from his seat in the back of the room. Several alien security guards moved toward him, their weapons ready. But Lisa raised her hand to stop them. This is Commander Jake Peterson, she said to the council. He is our military advisor. With your permission, I think his words would help you understand humans better. Elder Keth looked at the human soldier with his many eyes. Commander Peterson was different from Ambassador Morgan. Where she was calm and diplomatic, he looked like someone who had seen real fighting. His uniform had medals on it. His face had small scars. His eyes were sharp and alert. Very well, Elder Keth said slowly. You may speak, Commander. Jake Peterson walked down the aisle between the alien seats. Some of the smaller aliens moved away from him as he passed. Others stared at him with curiosity. When he reached the platform, he did not smile like Lisa had. His face was serious and hard. Distinguished members of the council, he began, his voice deeper and rougher than Lisa's. Ambassador Morgan has told you about human compassion. She has shown you our mercy. She has explained our desire for peace. Now I want to tell you something else. He looked around the room, making eye contact with as many aliens as he could. You want to know if humans are dangerous? The answer is, yes, we are very dangerous. We are extremely dangerous. We are more dangerous than any species in this galaxy. Gasps and worried sounds came from all around the room. The Vorthek Prime Minister's shell rattled loudly. The gas beings turned bright red. The crystal people made sounds like breaking glass. But, Jake continued, raising his voice over the noise, we are dangerous to the right things. We are dangerous to bullies. We are dangerous to tyrants. We are dangerous to anyone who hurts innocent people. He touched the control pad and the display changed. Now it showed human soldiers in action, but not in the way the aliens expected. The images showed human troops protecting refugee camps. They showed human ships defending cargo vessels from pirates. They showed human peacekeepers standing between angry crowds to prevent riots. Look at what we fight, Jake said. Look at what we protect. Look at what we stand for. The first image showed a human soldier carrying a wounded alien child to safety. The soldier was bleeding from his own wounds, but he did not stop to treat himself. He kept running until the child was safe. This is Private Bobby Chun, Jake said. He died getting that child to the medical station. The child was from a species that had been fighting humans for 2 years, but when Bobby saw her hurt, he did not see an enemy. He saw a little girl who needed help. The display changed to show human Marines fighting off pirates who were attacking a merchant convoy. The pirates were from 6 different species, but they all had better weapons and ships than the humans. Yet the humans kept fighting until all the merchant ships were safe. We are dangerous to pirates, Jake said. We are dangerous to raiders. We are dangerous to anyone who thinks they can take what belongs to others. A thin, blue alien with many arms stood up. But why do you fight so hard for people you do not know? Why do you risk your lives for strangers? Jake looked directly at her. Because someone has to. Because if good people do nothing, bad people win. Because the strong should protect the weak, not prey on them. The display showed more scenes of human military action. But in every image, the humans were defending someone. They were protecting trade routes. They were stopping invasions. They were rescuing prisoners. They were never the ones starting the fights. You see our weapons and you fear us, Jake continued. But look at what we point those weapons at. Look at what we choose to fight. The images showed human soldiers fighting against slave traders. They showed human ships hunting down pirates. They showed human peacekeepers stopping genocides and protecting the innocent. Every weapon we build to protect someone, Jake said. Every soldier we train to defend the defenseless. Every battle we fight to make the galaxy safer for everyone. The octopus-like Tentak spoke up. But your soldiers seem to enjoy fighting. They volunteer for dangerous missions. They compete to see who is the best warrior. Jake smiled for the first time since he had started speaking. You think we enjoy fighting? Let me tell you what we really enjoy. We enjoy the moment when the fighting stops. We enjoy the look on a child's face when they realize they are safe. We enjoy the silence after the last shot is fired. The display changed to show human soldiers after battles. But they were not celebrating victories. They were helping wounded enemies. They were sharing food with hungry civilians. They were building schools and hospitals in places where there had been fighting. Our soldiers do not celebrate death, Jake said. They celebrate life. They celebrate the lives they saved. They celebrate the peace they helped create. The Vorthak Prime Minister leaned forward. But your military is huge. You have more ships and weapons than any other species. This suggests you are preparing for war, Jake nodded. You are right. We do have a large military. We do have many weapons, and yes, we are always preparing for war. But do you know why? He paused, looking around the room. Because we know that the best way to avoid a fight is to be so strong that no one wants to fight you? Because we know that bullies only pick on people who cannot fight back. The display showed statistics about galactic crime. Since humans had started patrolling the trade routes, piracy had dropped by 70%. Since human peacekeepers had started helping with conflicts, the number of wars had gone down by half. We are strong so that others can be weak, Jake said. We are armed so that others can be peaceful. We are prepared for war so that others can live in peace. A small furry alien raised her paw. But what if you decide to use that strength against us? What if you become the bullies? Jake was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was softer. Then you stop us. All of you working together. That is why we joined the council. That is why we follow galactic law. That is why we ask permission before we act. The display showed human military commanders meeting with alien leaders. It showed human soldiers taking orders from alien peacekeepers. It showed human ships following council regulations even when it was difficult. We know we are dangerous, Jake said. We know we are powerful. That is exactly why we need rules. That is exactly why we need the council to watch us. Power without limits is tyranny. We do not want to be tyrants. He looked directly at Elder Keth. You asked if humans are dangerous. I have told you the truth. We are the most dangerous species in the galaxy, but we are dangerous to the right things. We are dangerous to evil. We are dangerous to cruelty. We are dangerous to injustice. The chamber was completely silent again. Jake looked around at all the alien faces watching him. Some looked thoughtful, others looked worried, but many looked hopeful. You can vote us out of the council, Jake said. You can tell us to leave the galaxy. You can try to make us go away. But if you do, who will protect you when the next threat comes? Who will stand between you and the darkness? He gestured to the display, which now showed human ships patrolling the galaxy's borders. We are not asking you to love us. We are not asking you to trust us completely. We are asking you to let us do what we do best. We are asking you to let us be your shield. The display faded away, leaving Jake standing alone at the platform. He had said what he needed to say. Now it was up to the council to decide what to do with the truth they had heard. The chamber exploded with noise after Commander Peterson finished speaking. Aliens argued loudly in their own languages. The crystal beings made sounds like 100 bells ringing at once. The gas creatures swirled in wild patterns of color. Some aliens stood up and shook their arms or tentacles at each other. Elder Keth tried to call for order, but the noise was too loud. It took several minutes before the aliens began to calm down. Some were clearly angry. Others looked thoughtful. Many seemed confused about what they had just heard. The council will now discuss this matter, Elder Keth announced. We will take a short break to think about what we have learned. But before anyone could move, a small voice spoke from the back of the chamber. Wait, please. I have something to say. Everyone turned to look. A young Zephyrian delegate stood up slowly. She was barely old enough to serve on the council, and her translator crackled with nervousness. Her name was Lyra, and she had been silent during the entire session. Elder Keth, she said, her voice shaking slightly, may I ask the humans a question? The ancient being nodded. You may speak, young Lyra. Lyra looked directly at Lisa and Jake. 3 years ago, when the Void Plague came to our system, your people came to help us. My family was trapped in the quarantine zone. Everyone said we would die. Her voice grew stronger as she continued. I was told that human doctors went into the quarantine zone knowing they might never come out. Is this true? Lisa and Jake looked at each other. It was Jake who answered. Yes, that is true. Dr. Amy Collins led the medical team. She and 15 other doctors and nurses went in to help. They stayed for 2 months, treating patients and working on a cure. What happened to them? Lyra asked. Jake's face grew sad. We lost 12 people, including Dr. Collins. The plague was very dangerous. But they stayed until everyone was either cured or dead. Lyra's translator made sounds that everyone could tell meant she was crying. Dr. Collins saved my children. She spent her last day holding my youngest daughter's hand and singing her a human song. My daughter still sings that song. The chamber became very quiet. Many aliens were now looking at the humans with different eyes. If humans are so violent and dangerous, Lyra continued, why would Dr. Collins do that? Why would she die for children who were not even her own species? Lisa stepped forward. Because Dr. Collins understood something that many people do not understand. She knew that the same feelings that make humans willing to fight also make us willing to sacrifice everything. For others, we fight for what we love, we protect what we care about. And sometimes what we love are people we have never met. The Vorthik Prime Minister made us sound like grinding gears. But that makes no sense. Why would you care about aliens you do? Not know, Jake answered this time. Because caring is not about knowing someone personally. Caring is about seeing someone who needs help and deciding to help them. Dr. Collins did not save those children because she knew them. She saved them because they needed saving. Elder Keth leaned forward in his ancient chair. The council has heard much today. We must now decide what to do with this information. We will vote on whether humans should remain in the galactic community. The voting process took 3 hours. Each species had to discuss among themselves. Then their delegates had to vote. The humans sat quietly during this time, waiting to learn their fate. Finally, Elder Keth stood up with the results. The chamber became completely silent. The Galactic Council has voted, he announced. By a count of 712 votes in favor, 89 votes against, and 63 abstentions, the Council finds that humanity's history of warfare does not make them unfit for membership in the galactic community. Cheers and angry sounds filled the chamber. But Elder Keth was not finished. However, he continued, and the room became quiet again, the Council also recognizes that humanity brings unique skills to our community. Therefore, the Council creates the Human Advisory Committee on Conflict Resolution. Humans will serve as the primary peacekeeping force for the galaxy. Lisa stood up, her calm composure finally cracking as she smiled widely. On behalf of all humanity, we accept this responsibility. We will do our best to prove that your trust in us is justified. There are conditions, Elder Keth said. Human military actions must be approved by the Council. Human peacekeepers will work with alien observers. Human weapons and tactics will be shared with Council security forces. And humans will report regularly on all military activities. Jake nodded. We understand and accept these conditions. We want oversight. We want accountability. We want to make sure we never become the thing we fight against. As the session began to end, something unexpected happened. The Vorthik Prime Minister approached the human delegation. His huge, intimidating form towered over Lisa and Jake, but his voice was different now. Ambassador Morgan, Commander Peterson, he said, I owe you an apology. I was afraid your people would bring war to our galaxy. I did not realize you would bring something much more valuable. What is that? Lisa asked. Wisdom, the Prime Minister replied. The hard-earned wisdom of those who have learned to make peace from war. My people have been fighting rebels for generations. Perhaps we could learn from your methods. Lisa shook his massive claw with her small human hand. We would be honored to help, Prime Minister. But remember, our methods only work if you really want peace, not just victory. Other aliens began approaching the humans. The crystal beings played a musical harmony that their translator said meant welcome and friendship. The gas creatures swirled in patterns of blue and green, which meant hope and new beginnings. Young Lyra came up to Lisa with tears still in her eyes. Thank you for what Dr. Collins did for my family. Thank you for what all humans have done for us. Lisa hugged the young alien gently. Dr. Collins would be proud to know that her sacrifice helped bring our peoples together. As the great chamber began to empty, humanity's place in the galaxy was finally secure. They were no longer the dangerous newcomers to be feared and watched. They were the guardians of peace, the protectors of the innocent, and the voice of experience. In a galaxy that was learning what true strength really meant, Jake looked around the nearly empty chamber. You know what the best part of this is? He said to Lisa. What? She asked. We get to prove them right. We get to show them that their faith in us was justified. We get to be the shield that protects this galaxy. Lisa nodded. And maybe someday we can teach them what we learned the hard way, that the strongest people are not the ones who win every fight. The strongest people are the ones who know when not to fight at all. Outside the great chamber, the stars seemed to shine brighter. Humanity had found its place among them, not as conquerors or destroyers, but as guardians and protectors. And in the years to come, they would prove that sometimes the best warriors are the ones who fight for peace.